In terms of people trying to escape the city or trying to find a safe route, because as you say there are security checkpoints, some of them of Gaddafi forces, some of them set up by the NTC.
Yeah, and some of those checkpoints are clearly set up to stop people escaping the city. I'm not talking about ordinary civilians, but I'm talking about those who might fear that they might be convicted of some sort of crime, might be punished for their behaviour, for their role in the Gaddafi government, for their military role. They're certainly stopping cars that are leaving to try and see who's in those cars and make sure that no one's wanted is making their way to a rural area, to a desert area, to one of the last Gaddafi strongholds, or even to try and get their way out of this country across the border, perhaps to Tunisia or maybe Algeria.
We'll just stay with us for a moment, James, while I tell our viewers who are just joining us here on Al Jazeera that you're seeing the latest pictures coming out of Tripoli. These are rebel troops in the compound of Bab al-Aziziya. This is Muammar Gaddafi's stronghold, the grounds and the buildings. We're showing you as many of the fresh pictures that are coming out as they enter the inner complex. Lots of rebel soldiers there you can see with guns, some of them military personnel, maybe those that James mentioned that have been trained in certain camps around Libya. James, if I do come back to you, what sort of numbers are we talking about in terms of rebel soldiers in the area where you are, and what would you suggest their task is? What are they trying to achieve?
Well, for example, car just shot past me, young man in there. I don't think he was probably much more than 15. Does he count as a rebel soldier because he had a rifle in his hand? I think you have to really work out who are you talking about? Who are the rebel fighters? Because guns have become very, very easily available in recent days and in recent weeks. So I think you've got to look at those that are actually being sent here under the command of the National Transitional Council, who have direct orders on how to proceed, and others who have joined this movement, who have taken to the streets, who have picked up weapons and are joining the effort to remove the Gaddafi government. They may not be quite as well ordered and may not have the same level of discipline. They certainly don't have the same level of training. Now, I think the political leadership, the National Transitional Council, will be worried about some of those enthusiastic but angry young men, that they may try and take the law into their own hands.
And of course, Tripoli, being the capital city, will have as many military bases in its immediate location. If anything is to go by in terms of the pictures that we saw yesterday when, as you mentioned, individuals were raiding military barracks and taking armaments, guns, computers and technical equipment, it is a concern, possibly for those military bases that haven't been touched so far.
Yeah, I mean, I drove past the one you're talking about, the headquarters of the Hamis Brigade, and smoke was still coming from the front of that building just a few hours ago. Yes, there are many weapons in this country. In Gaddafi-controlled areas, we know there are arms dumps. We know NATO hit many of them. They were among their targets. They were on their target list. But there are many of those dumps, and even though they've been hit by NATO, I'm sure there are weapons that are still active there. And I think one of the long-term problems for a new government in this country is going to be how to get all of these weapons off the streets and to get a structured law enforcement service and a regular army in place and make sure they're the only people that are holding the guns and the ammunition.
A few hours ago we spoke to one of our correspondents, Jackie Roldan, who we'll be speaking to later in the programme, and she did actually suggest and even report the fact that the National Transitional Council would be wise to have some sort of presence in the capital, some sort of influence in the vicinity. And I think that's really what you're saying as well, because these guys with guns on the streets need guidance from someone.
Well, we know they have some sort of presence in terms of military presence, that they have a military command here. I think the point is that not all of these people that you're seeing taking part in these dramatic events in the last few hours are actually part of that formal military chain of command, and I think that will be of concern. But yes, they also have to be here soon, here in Tripoli, the National Transitional Council, to show the people that they are here and to take charge of the people's protection, and to try and deal with the so many problems that are now facing the people of this city.
And of course there's the other side of this whole last 36 hours, and the apparent release of Saif al-Islam, the son of Muammar Gaddafi, which would